before we get into NASCAR, Kobe, I understand we have some breaking news we want to share.
Yeah, some breaking news that just come out just a few minutes ago, like major breaking news, something I did not expect, very shocking. And this is straight from Erebus Motorsport from the team press release. As you guys have already know, we've been following the Brodie Kostecki story and the saga surrounding him and Erebus, and it's really seemed like Brodie Kostecki and Erebus, we're destined to be divorced, but to everyone's surprise, Brodie Kostecki will indeed return to Erebus Motorsport alongside Jack LeBrock as the team heads to New Zealand for the third round of the Supercars Championship. Kostecki will undertake a test day at Winton this week in preparation for Taupo. And then Brodie said in a statement that I'm excited to be back behind the wheel again. I needed some time away to prioritize my health. I'm grateful for the support, privacy, and time Betty, Barry, and the team have given me. And Erebus CEO Barry Ryan said Kostecki's return would be a boost heading into the third round of the championship. And Barry Ryan said, on behalf of Betty and the team, we are pleased Brodie is ready to drive again. Having Brodie back to work alongside Jack as he becomes more familiar with the car will be a positive for the entire team. And Todd Hazelwood, who is set to co-drive for Erebus at the Sandown 500 and Bathurst 1000, filled in for Kostecki at the season open in Bathurst 500 and Australian Grand Prix events. And Barry Ryan concluded, a big thanks to Todd. He performed brilliantly under considerable pressure and scrutiny. So hats off to him. We look forward to having him at the test day this week and back in the seat for the Enduros later in the year. So yeah, so Joe, I guess I'll start with you on this one. Like, what are your thoughts about Brodie Kostecki making a shock return? Because a lot of people really expected, that this relationship had run its course, and there's no way that you're going to see Brodie drive again. Even Cam Waters, who was racing the Truck Series event at Marsville, he had a media availability earlier in the week, and he briefly talked about Brodie, and he said, "Oh, Brodie's going to have the year off and all of that." And look at this now. Now Brodie is returning. So, Joe, I'm just flabbergasted by this.
Me too, especially considering everything that has essentially happened with that team. They lost a major sponsorship. Everything was indicating that we were just waiting for the official announcement. Brodie is not coming back. And then essentially the dominoes will fall when it comes to silly season in the Repco Supercar Series. So this is hugely surprising. I would say probably one of the big surprises of the year, especially for supercars that this later, granted, they're still early in the season, but we've done a couple of rounds. It just looked like it was not going to happen. Brodie's going to have his word cut out if he's going to be at all contending for a championship, which I think is just more bring the wins, attract the sponsorships, try to rebuild. But it's going to be really interesting as more details come out. And I think the one thing a lot of people are going to be curious about, will we hear rumors about what was this all about, what happened, and why did it get resolved this way? This is definitely not the end of the story.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't follow Supercars as closely as you two do, so I don't have too much to add there. But I've been casually keeping up with it, of course, and seeing what you guys have to report on Grid tonight. And from just kind of an outsider's vantage point, it certainly looked like irreconcilable differences between those two parties. And of course, Brodie has some history of NASCAR, even going back to his days running K&N East about a decade ago, and then coming back to run the IMS road course this year. And you see what obviously SVG is doing. Cam Waters, like you mentioned, Kobe, running a truck race Martinsville Friday night. We'll have more on that on the Encore show tomorrow. You maybe thought Brodie might look for an early out here to come to NASCAR and follow in SVG's footsteps, so to speak. But I guess for Supercars fans, certainly great to hear that the two appear to have put their differences aside, and Brodie's going to be back here because, like we talked about on the show before as well, Supercars seems to be reminds me of the open wheel invasion from the early to mid 2000s. It seems like a lot of talents kind of flirting with NASCAR right now, and that's great for us, but maybe not so great for the Supercar series to be losing all of their big stars at once. So glad for the series' sake that Brodie's going to be back.
Yes, it's definitely a big positive that the defending series champion is going to be back on the grid. And just the thought of the defending series champion not being on the grid all year long, that was something that, very disappointing to Supercars fans, everyone in Supercars in general. Now for Brodie to come back, that's a big deal, a big boost for the series. And like you're saying, Joe, it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to hear more details come out, in the days and weeks ahead about this situation. It's still a very odd situation, that a lot of us still don't really understand what was happening, because like I was saying, we really thought that this would be the end of Brodie and Erebus, but now all of a sudden they're back together again. Unfortunately for Brodie, he's not going to be able to defend his title because of so many races that he's already missed, but I think he could potentially elevate that team where we think it can be, because last year, you know, he was battling with Shane Van Gisbergen all year. Brodie had some really great drives all throughout the season. It seemed like with Jack LeBron, Todd Hazelwood during these first few races, it seemed like that team has taken a step back over the offseason. But we know how talented Brodie is. I think getting Brodie in their car is, you know, and like no disrespect to Todd Hazelwood and Jack LeBron, but Brodies Kostecki is on a completely different level when it comes to driving talent, and we know for sure he's going to get the best out of that Erebus Chevrolet Camaro. So we'll be able to see where their program is at in 2024 when he gets back, but behind the wheel of the car. And got a comment there from Adam Limmery saying, awesome news for Brodie. Yeah, really great to see him back on the track. I'm really glad that he's not going to spend the entire year on the sidelines. It's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do when he gets back on track in New Zealand at the next race.
And a friendly reminder to everyone, as more news potentially breaks out on this grid tonight, Kobe, they'll probably most likely have delays if there's more breaking news regarding this big shocking news that Brodies Kostecki is back.